Bigfoot is not just big in stature. For some, it's also big business. There's long been a thriving economy built around the legend.
Imagine this: a drone, sleek and silent, gliding over the dense forests of Alaska, a region infamous for its wild terrain, dangerous wildlife, and eerie reputation as a place no human dares tread. This isn't just any forest, though. It's part of a restricted military base, an area cordoned off from the public with warnings that keep even the most adventurous souls at bay. But on this particular day, the drone's camera picks up something extraordinary, something that chills to the bone. A towering, shadowy figure, unmistakably humanoid, moving with an eerie confidence through the trees. Even more astonishing, the figure isn't alone. A smaller, similarly shaped creature clings close to it, almost as if seeking protection. The drone's high-definition camera captures the scene in terrifying clarity. The larger figure moves with purpose, its gait deliberate and powerful, as if the forest is its domain. The smaller figure mimics its movements, staying close, its every step a testament to the bond between them. This is not the shaky, grainy footage of old. It's sharp, calculated, and undeniably unsettling. Halloween's startling image. The journey to this discovery begins years earlier with an eerie Halloween twist. A strange image appeared on a trail camera set up deep in the Alaskan wilderness.
I got a call from a good buddy of mine last summer whose cousin knew a guy that took photos of a Bigfoot. But I never could figure out where it was, how big it was. And with the team here, I think we get lined up exactly and figure out what this photo really is.
The photo, sent to an Animal Planet show, sparked curiosity and disbelief. It depicted a creature unlike the stereotypical descriptions of Bigfoot. This one wasn't black, as most reports described, but a silvery gray, its fur gleaming like a coyote's under the moonlight. The photo caught the attention of investigators from Finding Bigfoot, who descended on the property where the trail camera had been placed. Their investigation unearthed wild rumors, with locals recounting strange sightings and unexplained phenomena over the past 15 years. The image and its implications ignited debates among believers and skeptics alike, but nothing could prepare the world for what the drone would later uncover. A history of unnerving sightings. The drone footage isn't an isolated incident. It joins a long lineage of encounters that have kept the Sasquatch legend alive for decades. In the early 1990s, former forest ranger Paul Freeman claimed to have seen an entire family of Sasquatches in the shadowy Blue Mountains of Washington. His grainy footage depicted towering figures with long arms and strides that defied human capabilities.
A 15-year obsession, all he wanted to do was prove to people that they existed and that he was not crazy.
Critics dismissed it as another hoax, but for believers, Freeman's footage was groundbreaking. Then, there was the 2009 encounter near Gum Hill, where an ATV rider named Chuck Newton captured footage of a dark figure moving smoothly through the trees. The way it crossed a stream, with a stride and presence that seemed almost ghost-like, left viewers questioning whether they were witnessing something extraordinary. More sightings followed, each adding layers to the mystery. From a wedding photographer's late-night encounter with a massive, upright figure in Connecticut to the famous Independence Day footage of an adult Sasquatch guiding a smaller one protectively through the forest, these incidents painted a picture of creatures far more intelligent and social than most imagined. The Alaska drone footage. The Alaska footage, however, took the legend to a new level. Unlike previous sightings, this wasn't an accidental glimpse or a fleeting shadow. The team operating the drone had deliberately chosen the location, a restricted area known for its inaccessibility and wild dangers. It was the kind of place where only something truly elusive could thrive, hidden from human eyes. As the drone scanned the forest, it captured what skeptics had long dismissed as impossible. The towering creature didn't just look like it belonged, it moved as if it owned the forest. The smaller figure by its side, presumably a juvenile, added a haunting new dimension to the footage. The creatures weren't wandering aimlessly. They were deliberate, calculated, and seemed aware of the drone's presence, though unbothered by it. Experts who analyzed the footage were stunned by its clarity and the level of detail. The larger creature's movements revealed muscles shifting beneath its fur, a level of realism that would be nearly impossible to fake. The smaller one's behavior mirrored that of an offspring, its movements hesitant but closely tied to the larger figure. Skepticism and speculation. As with all things Sasquatch, the footage sparked a firestorm of debate. Skeptics claimed it was a hoax, suggesting the figures were people in costumes or the product of clever CGI.
The creature that we're seeing in this video is clearly bipedal. The only other animal in this area that would be able to walk bipedally would be a bear walking on its hind legs. But when they do, they typically waddle more and take a shorter step.
But even they couldn't deny that, if fake, it was one of the most convincing hoaxes ever pulled off. For believers, the footage was a revelation, raising questions about how these creatures remain so elusive. How do they avoid detection in an increasingly connected world? What do they eat? Where do they hide? And why, despite the growing number of sightings, has no body ever been found? The footage also reignited discussions about Bigfoot's potential social structures. Could these creatures form family units, as sightings like the Independence Day footage and the Alaska drone capture suggest? If so, what does that say about their intelligence and their ability to adapt and survive in the wild? Imagine standing at the edge of a dense forest, the light dimming as the sun dips below the horizon. You can't help but wonder what might be lurking just beyond the tree line. That unsettling curiosity, the kind that sends a chill down your spine, is what keeps the legend of Sasquatch alive. For decades, sightings, encounters, and evidence, if you can call it that, have fueled a debate that refuses to die. The Alaska drone footage is just the latest chapter in a story that grows more complex and captivating with each new twist. The footage, captured in a restricted forest where few humans have set foot, showed something extraordinary. A massive, shadowy figure moved deliberately through the trees, with a smaller companion trailing close behind. This wasn't your average grainy Bigfoot clip, it was stunningly clear. The larger figure's posture was imposing, but what caught everyone's attention was its behavior. It glanced down at the smaller creature in a way that could only be described as protective. Was this evidence of family dynamics among Sasquatches? Could these creatures be more like us than we ever imagined?
Seemed to be at ease and curious. It was watching me and watching the children. It seemed to be interested because I could see it looking at us.
Wow, that's so close.
The drone's camera didn't just record movement. It captured a moment. The smaller figure clung to the larger one with an urgency that felt startlingly real, as if they were caught in a private, vulnerable moment. The footage didn't feel staged, it felt authentic. The way the muscles shifted under their fur, the natural sway of their movements, it left skeptics scratching their heads and believers clutching at what felt like long overdue vindication. Protective parents and territorial giants. This wasn't the first time a Sasquatch sighting hinted at familial bonds. Take the Independence Day footage. An adult Sasquatch leading a juvenile through the forest, glancing back protectively as if aware of being watched. Or the drone footage from China's Jiren region, where a massive figure stormed through the woods, clearly agitated by the intrusion of a drone. This wasn't the shy, elusive creature of folklore. It was aggressive, territorial, and undeniably intimidating. Could these variations in behavior indicate different subspecies of Sasquatch, or are they simply individual personalities adapting to their surroundings? The Orange Yeti, a new subspecies? Sometimes Sasquatch sightings throw curveballs that even seasoned researchers struggle to explain. Enter the Orange Yeti of California, a figure with bright, flame-colored fur spotted swinging gracefully between trees on a steep hillside. It moved with an almost theatrical elegance, leading some to dismiss it as a trick of sunlight or clever editing. But for others, this sighting suggested something far more fascinating, that Sasquatches might be chameleons of the cryptid world, adapting their appearance and behavior to different environments. The Ontario encounter, a bipedal mystery. Farther north, a hunting camera in Ontario captured footage of a hulking figure strolling upright through Canada's dense wilderness. Its size was staggering, its stride smooth and unbroken.
I thought at the time Bigfoots were supposed to be black. This wasn't black. It was the same color as a coyote, a silverish, grayish, whitish. I can see the muscles in its back flexing underneath the hair. That's what really set me off, is like, whatever that is, that's real.
Bears don't walk like that, not for extended periods, and the creature's bipedal gait raised questions that skeptics couldn't easily dismiss. The video went viral on TikTok, sparking fiery debates. Was it a hoax? A bear seen at an odd angle? Or was this yet another glimpse of the elusive creature that continues to evade scientific study? A stinky Colorado close encounter. Not all Sasquatch stories come with video evidence. In 2017, Scott, a Colorado resident, had a late-night encounter that left him rattled. His house was suddenly filled with a stench so overpowering it felt like decay mixed with raw wilderness. Peering out his window, Scott froze. There, just beyond the glass, stood a hulking figure covered in matted hair, its eyes locking onto his with an unsettling intensity. He managed to snap a few grainy photos before the creature disappeared into the shadows. While skeptics argued it could have been a bear or even a prank, Scott was left with a lingering dread that something far stranger had been outside his home that night. From protective parents and territorial giants to bizarre anomalies like the orange yeti, every sighting adds a new thread to the Sasquatch tapestry. These aren't isolated incidents. Across North America and beyond, reports consistently describe towering humanoid figures that vanish before they can be thoroughly investigated. Researchers have compiled footprint casts too large to match any known species, analyzed hairs that defy classification, and recorded eerie sounds in the wilderness that send shivers down your spine.
The research community have noted for decades that there seems to be a connection between coyotes and Sasquatches. A lot of people were saying maybe the coyotes are following the Sasquatches around and waiting for scraps after the Sasquatch kills a deer or something like that. I think it's the opposite.
The Alaska drone footage stands out not just for its clarity, but for what it represents. A momentary glimpse into a hidden world, one that seems determined to stay that way. The creatures captured in the footage moved with an intelligence and grace that suggests they are far more than simple animals. If they are real, they are masters of their environment, able to avoid detection even in an age of satellites and drones. The endless puzzle of Bigfoot, guardians of the Northwest. The tale of Bigfoot, woven from blurry sightings and mysterious evidence, continues to captivate millions. These elements form a tapestry of mystery, leaving enthusiasts, skeptics, and scientists to puzzle over the truth. And now, the story moves deeper into its spiritual heartland, the Pacific Northwest, a place where the shadow of Bigfoot looms large over the dense forests and rugged mountains. The guardians of the Northwest. The Pacific Northwest, often cited as Bigfoot's home turf, is a land of endless wilderness, where towering pines and remote valleys create a perfect sanctuary for something elusive. Locals have long whispered of strange happenings, with stories passed down for generations. Native American legends include figures resembling Bigfoot, described as guardians of the forest or mysterious wanderers. Could these ancient tales hold a kernel of truth? Scientists remain divided, but the legends persist, fueling the region's reputation as a cryptid hotspot. For critics, the lack of concrete evidence is the sticking point.
All of the Aborigines down there have drawings on the walls of caves depicting these things. They're prevalent in their storytelling traditions as well. But then the settlers came in the late 1700s, and they too started running into yowies, which is another very strong indicator that they're a real biological animal.
A creature as large as Bigfoot, they argue, would have left behind undeniable signs: bones, scat, or remains of its kind. Supporters counter with examples from nature, like the lowland gorilla, once thought to be a myth, and other rare species that eluded discovery for centuries. Often, it isn't until their habitats are disrupted that these creatures are brought to light. Could Bigfoot be one of these? The debate is endless, but the fascination remains. A digital hunt. In the modern age, the legend has expanded far beyond the woods. Platforms like TikTok, YouTube, and Reddit have become hotbeds for theories and sightings. Videos claiming to show Bigfoot rack up millions of views, sparking endless analysis. Enthusiasts pore over every frame, searching for clues. While many clips are quickly dismissed as hoaxes, some stand out, sparking intense discussion. Could these digital breadcrumbs lead to the truth, or are they simply feeding the mystique of an enduring legend? The obsession with Bigfoot isn't just about proving its existence. It's the thrill of the unknown, the idea that mysteries still exist in a world that feels increasingly mapped and explained. With advances in technology, Tools like drones, thermal imaging, and high-definition trail cameras are now part of the hunt. These tools may one day provide irrefutable evidence, but for now, they add to the layers of mystery surrounding the creature. The drone that shook the forest. In early 2021, a drone flight over Birch Bay in Washington captured footage that reignited the Bigfoot debate. The short clip, recorded just before midnight, showed a massive shadowy figure weaving through the trees with an eerie grace. This wasn't a random blob or shaky camera work. It was deliberate, smooth movement, as if the creature owned the forest. The figure's sheer size and presence were unmistakable, its movements almost calculated, like a predator entirely at home in the wilderness.
Our goal is to try to identify, first eliminate a hare as a possible Sasquatch hare by attributing it to something known, like a human, or a chimpanzee, or a brown bear.
Adding to the mystery, the footage came from an area shrouded in secrecy and isolation. The dense forest was off limits to hikers, making the footage all the more compelling. Experts who viewed the video noted the natural muscle shifts in the figure's frame, details that are nearly impossible to fake. Even skeptics had to admit, if it wasn't real, it was the most convincing hoax they'd ever seen: the disappearing cameras. But the story didn't end there. Over the following weeks, 4 trail cameras set up in the vicinity vanished without a trace. Local theories ranged from pranksters to poachers, but the timing was suspicious. Could the creature itself have been responsible, aware of the cameras and bold enough to remove them? While it sounds like something out of a sci-fi thriller, it's details like these that keep the legend alive. For those who take Bigfoot seriously, these developments are both thrilling and puzzling. They are often the first to call out fakes, lending credibility when they vouch for something as compelling as the Birch Bay footage. The footage, coupled with the strange disappearance of the cameras, nudges at that part of us that wants to believe but fears being fooled. Mysteries in the shadows. The Pacific Northwest has always been fertile ground for tales of Bigfoot, but the Birch Bay footage brought the legend into sharp focus. The smooth, purposeful movements of the shadowy figure, combined with the eerie circumstances surrounding the missing cameras, created a storm of speculation. Was this a guardian of the forest, protecting its domain? A relic of a forgotten age, thriving in the fringes of human discovery? Or was it simply another elaborate hoax destined to keep us guessing? These sightings and stories paint a picture of a creature that defies easy explanation. Whether it's the territorial guardian of Birch Bay, the protective parent seen in the drone footage, or the colorful outlier like the orange yeti, Bigfoot remains one of the greatest mysteries of our time.
I don't understand why there's all this chapping around the eyes and the lips look extremely chapped. It looks like it would live in a really cold area. The fact that this was supposedly shot in southern Texas, it's even stranger.
Each new sighting adds to a puzzle that feels both tantalizingly close to being solved and infinitely out of reach. Bigfoot's allure isn't just about the possibility of its existence. It's about what the creature represents: the unknown, the untamed, and the mysterious corners of our world that remain unexplored. As technology advances, the tools for uncovering the truth grow more sophisticated, but whether they will ever truly capture the shadowy figure in undeniable detail remains to be seen. It's a chilling thought, a creature of the forest, not only massive and primal, but intelligent enough to evade capture and detection for centuries. The mystery deepened when Clay Shiner, an ordinary hiker, unknowingly became part of the legend. On what was supposed to be a casual trek, Shiner caught something extraordinary on his phone camera. The figure was impossible to ignore, tall, dark, and purposeful, striding through the dense underbrush as though it had an urgent destination. Its movements struck a strange balance, fluid and human-like, yet carrying a raw, primal edge. Shiner's camera struggled to keep up as the figure disappeared into the trees, leaving behind a mix of wonder and unease. It was a fleeting moment, but one that reignited the fire of curiosity in Bigfoot enthusiasts and skeptics alike. From Washington to Missouri, the regional variations. Shiner's encounter wasn't the only one to hint at Bigfoot's adaptability. Across the country, Missouri boasts its own terrifying legend: Momo, short for the Missouri Monster. Unlike the elusive and mostly non-confrontational Bigfoot of the Pacific Northwest, Momo made its mark in the summer of 1971 with a series of terrifying encounters near Louisiana, Missouri. Witnesses described Momo as standing over 7 feet tall, covered in dark, shaggy fur, and emitting a stench so unbearable it was unforgettable. Unlike its Pacific Northwest counterpart, Momo was loud, aggressive, and territorial, letting out guttural roars that left witnesses trembling.
Momo is kind of a Bigfoot-like creature, maybe just a little bit smaller, maybe more hairy, but has the same foul odor, has the same sound.
Some believe these differences aren't just anecdotal, but indicative of regional variations among these creatures. Could scarce food and harsher conditions in the Midwest have shaped Momo into a fiercer, more aggressive version of Bigfoot? The idea of Bigfoot as a species, or perhaps multiple species, adapted to its environment is a tantalizing one. The Pacific Northwest, with its dense forests and abundant resources, might be home to one type of creature, while the rugged Midwest terrain could foster another. These regional differences add a new layer to the mystery, challenging our assumptions and fueling speculation. The tools of modern cryptid hunting. In today's world, the tools for tracking these creatures have advanced far beyond the grainy photos and shaky camcorder footage of decades past. Drones now scan treetops and traverse inaccessible areas, trail cameras silently monitor forest paths, and smartphones are ever ready to capture fleeting moments. Despite these technological leaps, Bigfoot remains as elusive as ever, a shadowy figure that seems to melt into the wilderness the moment it's spotted. Every sighting, no matter how compelling, raises new questions. Are these creatures solitary wanderers, or do they live in small, hidden groups? How do they evade detection in forests teeming with hikers, hunters, and researchers? And perhaps the biggest question of all, what would it mean if we finally captured undeniable proof of their existence? For believers, every blurry frame and every secondhand account feels like a step closer to validation. For skeptics, it's another opportunity to roll their eyes and dismiss the phenomenon as folklore or elaborate hoaxes. But for both, the fascination runs deeper than the question of Bigfoot's reality.
2 other sightings from hunters up in tree stands, actually. And I've often thought, is it Sasquatches aren't looking up because everything they're interested in is up down on the ground? But in this case, I think it's actually just blending in, and there's so many leaves and things here. If the Sasquatch is pretty much invisible until it was right there, he was probably invisible to it as well.
It's about the thrill of the unknown, the possibility that there's still something out there, hidden, untamed, and waiting to be discovered. Pilgrimages to the unknown. Places like Birch Bay in Washington and the Blue Mountains of Oregon have become pilgrimage sites for Bigfoot enthusiasts. Visitors wander the trails, hoping for a glimpse of the creature or, at the very least, the eerie sensation of walking in its rumored footsteps. Local communities embrace the legend, passing down stories from generation to generation, keeping the mystery alive. For these regions, Bigfoot is more than just a creature. It's a symbol of the untamed wild, a connection to a world that refuses to be fully understood. It represents the idea that there are still secrets lurking in the shadows of our forests, waiting to challenge our understanding of the natural world. The endless allure. Is the legend real or just a story we desperately want to believe? The truth remains as elusive as the creature itself, but perhaps that's part of the appeal. Bigfoot isn't just a mystery to solve. It's a reminder that even in our hyper-connected, fully mapped world, there are still pockets of wonder and wilderness that defy explanation. So, tell us what you think. Is Bigfoot a flesh and blood creature or a product of our collective imagination?